Alright, welcome to my 97 Subaru Impreza L. This is a base engine on all stock, 120,000 miles. This is where we're sitting right now. A little monster there for some reference for height. I'm going to be putting Forester struts, and these are straight from eBay, cheapest ones I could find. And a new CV shaft and a new ball joint on the left front because they're just shot, which is what started this whole thing. The front struts are also shot. So what I have here is some struts for the rear and the front with the strut mounts as well. And also rented some spring compressors from O'Reilly, and needed a little bit of brake fluid because I'm probably going to be breaking the brake lines open, so we'll have to bleed those too. And that's about it, so we'll see how it goes. This is the start. It is now 5:05 on May 2nd. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so here's where I'm at right now. This is also a CV shaft, like I said, that I'm changing. So I've got the tire came off. I disconnected the sway bar back over here. That's that. Disconnected the sway bar. I disconnected the ball joint, which that's where the ball joint goes. This is your ball joint. It's also getting changed for fairly obvious reasons. And that just has 14 mil bolt that runs right through here, and it sits right in this groove. So you got to take the bolt out to pull the ball joint out. What I did was pulled the bolt out. I left the ball joint attached at the bottom down here. Use a little pry bar, and I left my brake rotor on. I put one of my nuts on down here to keep the rotor from messing around. That way I could use the rotor to pry right in that little spot, and it pulled it right out. Now, so I'll be changing that. Next I got to do the cotter pin and pull that nut off, and then the ball joint will hammer right off. I highly recommend impact wrenches. They will save your butt. But like I said, I'm also doing a CV shaft. For obvious reasons, it's not in, well, you can't really see it very well here. It's not in good shape in there anyway. So that's coming out. So that just has this bolt or nut right here for your brake caliper that comes off, and that is a 32 mil. You can't really see it very well. 32 mil socket. So if you don't have a full set of sockets, that's a 32 mil. This is a 97 Subaru Impreza. So the next thing I'm going to have to do on this CV shaft, I don't have a light with me. That's gonna be a problem here a bit, but there is, if you look underneath here, this CV shaft, there is a roll pin that runs through. See, there's your shaft. Roll pin that runs through your CV shaft and into the transmission axle piece. I don't know what it's called. Close enough. You get the idea. I'll show you on the new CV shaft. So here's the new CV shaft, and as you can see, there's a hole right there on the new one, and that has a roll pin in it. You just use a punch and punch it right out. Then you can pull your CV shaft out to press on. That's it. And right now I'm at an hour, and I've also got the other side off. Okay, welcome back. So this is how far I've gotten. CV shaft's out finally after a 2-hour toboggle with somebody previously jacking up the roll pin inside. Finally got that out. I'll just replace it with a cotter pin, at least temporarily. Remove the brake caliper, just the whole assembly, and then I pulled the C-clip on the brake line to pull it out from the strut, then disconnected the brake line, fed it out through the old strut, and then reconnected it while making the small mess, and just reconnected it to keep it from continuing to pour fluid everywhere. So be ready for that. The next thing I'm going to do is disconnect the steering rod from here, and then we will go ahead and change the ball joint, put the CV shaft back. Well, then I'll press on with the strut, pulling the strut out, and we got that right here. So it's completely disconnected underneath. We're just gonna have to take those bolts out right there and drop the whole piece out, and then it'll be out. And then I gotta take it apart. There you go. Okay, welcome back. It's now 8:30 and I've had visitors, and the ball joint was a little bit of a pain to get out. So right now we're looking at my bad strut, my good strut, which is the Forester strut. So you can see there is definitely a bit of a size difference here. I already moved over this piece. Already took off the spring with the spring compressor from O'Reilly's, and we've already pulled the nut off the top here so we can see what we've got going on. We've got, this is the part that can holds the spring, so that's going to sit on there. The spring, so the spring will go on. You'll have this piece go on. Right, and then you've got this little washer right here, and you can see it's tapered, so the large flat area is going to go down onto the bottom. This allows the bearing to roll, to rest right on that one inside edge, which is right here in my new top hat, or strut mount. It's got the bearing already inside it, already a new bearing. Don't have to worry about anything there. And I've already fitted it up. Fits perfectly into the wheel well. So this was for the Impreza, and it goes on just fine for the strut. And then we've also got the little, that guy that's going to sit in there too. So let's put it together, stick it in, see if I can't get a strut running. Okay, so here we are again. Put the strut back together, no problems, no issues. I put my ball joint back in, my lower, installed the bolt, tighten that up, making sure I don't lose my other hardware, because this ball joint did not come with the nut. So nut, and then I've got new cotter pins, that's fine. I just left it connected to the steering rod. Now, I've got something to be aware of. Probably when you take this apart, as these are your bolts for adjusting your alignment. You can see this upper bolt. This is the upper bolt right here. We'll go through the upper, got my light here. We'll go through the upper. You can see the bottom is moves around. That's what controls your angle. So depending on where this head is will control your angle of your alignment. So When you take it off, if you're keeping the same struts, then I would probably mark it and not, that way you can put it right back where it was. But as it is, I don't know where it was because I did not realize this is exactly how it worked. I should have done a little more research. Hopefully this video will help you not. So when you put it in, before I put this all in, I'm going to mark it so I know which way's up. And then I'll just make this one the same as the other one, and I'll eventually probably just take it to an alignment shop and have them do the full alignment. But anyway, for now, temporary, I'll just make them the same on both sides, and that'll put it together, and this will go right in there. So right there, but should go right together now. Alright, so it is now, I've already done the left side front strut. It's now 12:06. So the front is now done. I just finished bleeding the brakes. And if you haven't bled brakes before, it's pretty simple with this little setup I learned on YouTube from somebody else that was doing a DIY video. So you can see there's your bleeder valve. It takes about a half a turn to open it up, and probably 5 or 6 pumps of the brakes once it's open to bleed the air out, depending on how much you lose. But this is just a simple little bottle hose. Hose goes into the bottle through the top. There's a little air hole there, and then just make sure your hose is down in it, and it'll bubble up when you step on it. And when you let go, it'll suck it back in. Just the liquid, not the bubbles. So do that until you get no bubbles. Close your bleeder valve, and that's it. Okay, so I'm on the rear now. It's now 1 o'clock on May 3rd. And the front is done, brakes are bled. It's good to go on the ground. The rear struts, I am now pretty much where I need to be going. Brake has been disconnected just from the bleeder, or from the banjo bolt. Right there, disconnected and pulled out from the old strut. And I just took the bolts out for the strut. I haven't taken anything else out. I'm going to see if I can't do it without changing anything else. We'll see. It may be rather difficult. We'll see how that goes. Like I said, this is going, Forester struts are going in instead of the stock Impreza struts. There's no alignment on these bolts. It's just slap them in, as far as I've seen so far. The inside in here, I'll show you the back of the car here real quick. Where the rest of this is, these top caps that go in here, they just pop right off. They just pry on the edge a little bit and it'll come off. You get this little piece off, and then they'll have that little piece in there. Those just come right off, and then you can just lift this back and you get right to your bolts and your nuts, and drop the strut out, and then go through the same thing with the front. Compress the springs, take it apart, same. Okay, so we're back. I've got the new strut in, put it together. It's not quite a perfect fit, and that may be just because I got the cheap eBay special struts, Forester struts. So hopefully it's not just a Forester deal, but it fits fine. Spring still sits in just fine. The rubber piece does not fit very well, but the front doesn't even have rubber, so I'm not worried. I did have to disconnect the sway brace down here to let me bring everything back down for far enough to attach the strut, because the strut is a little bit taller since I'm lifting it. So you will have to do it if you're not changing the struts to Forester or just keeping stock. You'll probably be okay to do without it, but not so lucky for me. That's alright, not a big deal. Just jacked up the on the brake rotor and got it above. Got the sway link below the attach point, and then I'm going to let it down until I can put the bolt in. So it was easier to do it from this way than to try and do it while it was down low. So anyway, I know I'm slurring, but forgive me. It's 2 o'clock now. This is the right strut. I've already got the left strut out. Just need to rebuild the strut with the Forester strut and put the next one in. So hopefully that'll go quicker now that I know that I have to take care of the strut, the sway link. Good night.